Hi, this is Doug Fields with another Leaders or Learners Youth Ministry training tape. In our minutes together, I want to try to help you become more effective when dealing with discipline issues in your youth ministry. I know this is a big issue in youth ministry, and it can rob some of the joy you have in working with students. But before we start, I want to begin by thanking you for serving for your love for students, and I want to commend you for taking the time to learn. Leaders are learners, and when you stop learning, you'll stop being an effective leader. Let's face it, youth ministry is tough, and difficult kids make our task even more difficult. I've been in youth ministry for over 20 years, and I keep waiting for it to get easier. I keep hoping for a problem-free year where I don't have to confront a student or deal with the discipline problem. Unfortunately, I think I'll have to wait forever, because that type of year doesn't seem realistic in our type of ministry. But I passionately believe that the right type of discipline can jumpstart spiritual growth within a student's life and can ignite some significant change within your youth ministry. Now, you're probably thinking, sure, pal, what planet do you live on? I know it doesn't seem realistic, but you see, discipline and discipleship are closely related, and we'll talk about that in our few minutes together. If we start with big picture thinking that says your presence as a significant adult is very important to a teenager as he or she grows in her faith, you start there. Your presence during good and bad times is foundational for effective discipline. Teenagers need adults who will love them despite all of their issues and their problems and their personality disorders. Now, it's important to note that these adults must be secure enough in themselves to not get defeated and sidetracked when a few students act like idiots. I mean, they need to know it's just going to happen. That's the nature of youth ministry. And unfortunately, discipline and confrontation align themselves with the role of being in a leadership position. I know it's a bummer, but it's reality. If you are a leader, you will need to discipline. Hopefully it's occasionally, but realistically, it could be often. Now, discipline problems are one of the main issues in youth ministry that can hinder growth in students while causing frustration in the lives of leaders. It's one of the few subjects I hate about youth ministry. It's the one or few students whose discipline problems can wear on leaders and cause them to feel like giving up on the students, on the other leaders, and eventually giving up on the ministry. And if you're worried about discipline issues, I can assure you, you're not alone. There isn't one person who works with teenagers who hasn't recently struggled with some kind of discipline challenge in their youth ministry contribution. While I was preparing this tape, I spoke with a leader who was having a hard time controlling his small group. Oftentimes, while the small group met in this guy's backyard, one student would spontaneously leave the small group and walk over to the trampoline and start jumping. And now that's a problem. I asked this leader, have you ever talked with a student about his behavior? He was a little ashamed and discouraged. He shyly said, no. I said, well, why? And he said, well, confrontation is uncomfortable, and to be honest, this kid emotionally drains me. I'm afraid I might want to punch him. Well, why you may not be ready to punch a student in your group, there's probably a few that come to mind who fit the draining category. Isn't that right? I mean, you're not alone. And whether you're a volunteer at a youth service, a small group leader in a home, or the youth pastor's spouse, you have to deal with discipline issues. So what do? First of all, you must address the purpose of discipline. Why do we do it? Is it to maintain peace at youth programs or to help students grow? Well, biblically speaking, discipline is not a necessary evil. Rather, it's a necessary good because of evil. You see, discipline is a virtue. It's a positive promoter of spirituality, morality, and relational integrity, which the Bible refers to as righteousness. So while discipline may serve to help in keeping the peace, its primary purpose is to help students mature spiritually. There's the connection between discipline and discipleship. You see, a common theme throughout Scripture, especially in the Old Testament, is that those who belong to God's family experience both God's provision and God's punishment.